Knock, Let the Devil In, Adam Cleary, WhatCulture.com, and Ewan Patterson, WhatCulture.com, both looking like two hollowed out sacks of flesh because we have been at the midnight screening of Spider-Man Far From Home, and we look like this. They're going straight back on, even though they're not. They're just 3D glasses, by the way, they're not actually real. Anyway, this is our review of the latest MCU movie, the first one since Endgame, the first one set in this post-snapping world that we have to have all our characters residing in and dying in and living in, whatever, etc., etc. Now, this is a spoiler review. We like to get out of the way nice and early. There should be a little thing around here somewhere. There's a siren. There is a spoiler review. Ewan, what kind of review is this?
Spoilers!
This is a spoiler review. Everybody watching it, it's a spoiler review. If you're still watching and you don't want things spoiled, that's now on you. We'll give you a second. Go watch another What Culture video. I don't care what it is. But now there's going to be lots of spoilers, but maybe not immediately. So, Ewan, hype levels for this film going in were a bit weird after Endgame.
Yeah, I was kind of living in a post-Endgame vortex the past few months. I was like so hyped after Endgame. I was like, I want to go see Endgame again, and then I never did. And then I'd more just kind of like had that initial trailer afterwards, which was the one that kind of, you know, elaborated on the fate of Tony Stark and like the post kind of Endgame world we're now living in, and I got really excited again. And then kind of afterwards I was just kind of like, Spider-Man, I like Spider-Man, looking forward to it, you know. And then I saw the early reactions, they were very, very positive, and then the ones that came after were kind of, pretty good. And then, so yeah, I kind of came into this film kind of with almost like tempered expectations. I was like looking forward to it, but I wasn't expecting anything mind-blowing. I don't know if that was kind of your similar position as well.
I almost feel I had a bit of like slight Marvel malaise after Endgame because I loved Endgame. It was a great film, but the whole 10-year thing, the Infinity Saga, it was just a lot to have to take in emotionally and in terms of your time as well, the amount of hours, and it just felt like this nice culmination to this huge story that I'd invested in. I was like, do you know what? That was great, but I'm kind of glad it's over because I could just do with no more Marvel films for that. I said to you, I'm going to watch inspiring stuff that's like quasi based on a true story about sporting coaches. I'm going to watch documentaries.
Molly's Game.
Yeah, Molly's Game, great film. I was going to watch stuff like that instead. So Spider-Man was coming, I was like, not even that long after Endgame, which is just a couple of months. And then we heard that, you know, maybe that's going to be the actual end point of Phase 4. You know, maybe it's going to introduce the multiverse and all this. And then, obviously, once we got the ending of Endgame, the new trailer dropped, which had the spoilers from Endgame in it, specifically Tony Stark's death. I was like, oh, do you know what? Just when I thought I was out, they web slung me back in.
Al Pacino is going to sue you for that comment.
No, he's not.
No,
he wouldn't dare.
No. But yeah, the story itself kind of follows Peter immediately after the events of Avengers Endgame. You know, we kind of see him dealing with being Spider-Man in this world that expects him to fill in the shoes of Tony Stark. And a lot of this film is about Iron Man's legacy, both the positive and the negative aspects of it, which I find to be really interesting. So we've kind of seen that done before in films like Civil War and Iron Man 3, but this one is really much, you know, this is Tony Stark's life and death and how it has impacted loads of different lives, both for better and for worse. I really like the way they kind of set that up in the film. There's a very, it doesn't, you know, pull any punches. You know, this whole world is expecting this boy to effectively be the next Iron Man, and that is a lot of pressure to put on a 16-year-old who is worrying about, you know, falling in love for the first time and going on a school getaway and all that sort of thing. So I really like that, almost taking the whole old mantra of with great power comes great responsibility, but kind of asking the question of when is too much responsibility too much for a young boy.
It's definitely interesting the way they do it, because I would say, obviously I have to watch it again 2 or 3 times to confirm this, but I would honestly go so far as to say I think there is some either visual or script reference to Iron Man in every scene in this film. There's a 5-minute scene where they're just in class talking about the trip and his plan with MJ and all this, and there's just drawings upon drawings out of focus in the background, which I very nearly missed. There's a bit where he's running through Venice and there's a mural of Iron Man on the way past. He's present in pretty much the entire film without ever actually being in the film, and it's very interesting the way they do it, and they do pull from other elements of the MCU as well. Like, we'll get to the reveal of Jake Gyllenhaal's character in a bit, but they go back to Tony Stark's past, and they go back to the old Iron Man films to make that profound and deeply gut-punching, as I found it in the cinema. But go on holiday they do in this film. I say 90% of it takes place away from New York City, which is, we've never really seen Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man is kind of ubiquitous with New York.
Yeah,
he's off here going to Venice, to Prague, not to Paris. But,
they didn't go to Paris in the end, they go to London, yes.
So, yeah.
Holland. He's in Berlin for a tiny little bit, he thinks.
Bit,
yeah, it's all over Europe, so if you are one of our European viewers, you will get weird kicks out of all this because, I mean, I've just been to Prague, like about a month ago, so that was really weird seeing that in the film. Obviously, we go down to London every now and then.
Tower of London, that bit when they're going through the little army, I was like, oh, that's Henry VIII's weird crotch armor there.
Him being in the Shard, it was like Fury presenting an episode of The Apprentice. It was all just, it was quite weird seeing all these settings because we don't really get that in big Hollywood films. Tend to only go over there like on the 5th or 6th installment of the film when they run out of ideas. What can we do? Go to London, but it felt fresh and it felt interesting, and it definitely added a new dimension to the MCU. It always seems to take place within these iconic American landscapes or off in space, which is, pretty much the same distance away from us, it feels like at times. But it was just nice to get a bit of almost a homecoming of sorts for Marvel's European audience.
And I also kind of really like how, you mentioned how it divests from those old tropes. I love seeing Aunt May being fully aware that Peter is Spider-Man and accepting it. I think it's one of the most annoying aspects of the character that even when he's like, in his late 20s, early 30s, Aunt May is just there like hobbling along, and then he's just there like, oh no, I can't let Aunt May know that I'm Spider-Man. And that's so boring to me. But it works so well here.
Look, I should probably have asked you this off camera, but is it weird having an Aunt May who definitely bangs?
No.
Because she definitely bangs in this film.
And it's Happy Hogan.
She's definitely banging Happy Hogan in this film. She sort of hand waves it away as like, that ain't nothing, because she bangs all the time, whereas Hogan's a bit like, but that's another story for another time. The central romance of the film, which is kind of core to the plot, is of course Peter and Mary Jane. Now, this is not the Peter and Mary Jane most cinema-going Spider-Man fans have seen over the decades. She's not the doddering, like, damsel in distress figure. She's certainly not Kirsten Dunst. I thought this was... I don't want to sort of expose my own childhood here, but I've never seen a film capture the awkwardness of trying to talk to a girl when you're a teenager as well as that ever.
I think that I have a thing for like coming of age teenage dramas, anything that can kind of capture the awkward nature of your first romance. I'm just there because you're cringing through the cinema, but it's like, oh god, I remember all of this and getting like some sort of Vietnam, helicopter flashbacks to like when you're just really awkward and you're 16 and you don't know what's going on.
Platoon music playing.
But somehow it all works, and I really think that central to this film is the romance between Peter and MJ, and I really think that the chemistry between Tom Holland and Zendaya is so good here. I know a lot of people kind of thought that maybe MJ was a little bit one-dimensional in Homecoming, but here they really flesh out the character, and I love how she's into like the most grim, macabre aspects of like history, and how Peter's just like fully into that. Like he gets like the glass cast of the Black Dahlia because she's really obsessed with the Black Dahlia murder, which is really, really cool. And I really think that she's not in it as much as I thought she'd be.
Same.
But I think the moments they share together are really genuine, and I think they both capture different aspects of what it's like to grow up.
I think they do a good job of how they use it, because I was expecting it to be a more important part of the film, but I think the way they strike that balance between the life Peter was expected to lead as one of the last remaining superheroes on Earth, and also the life Peter Parker wants to lead as a gawky, awkward kid on a school trip with a girl he fancies, was quite well, because you can't have a crossover too much between one and the other, and you genuinely felt, I think because as an audience member, I wanted him to spend more time with her in the story. You felt that pull every time he had to leave those situations. I don't want to watch an opera, but I do want to watch you sit next to her in an opera for like 10 minutes of this film. And no, it's gotta go. But now, we haven't really spoiled much too far.
No.
However, this is Spoiler Man, Far From Home for the remaining few minutes. We talk about the plot and all the criticisms, blah, blah, blah. Mysterio. You were so pumped when it was Mysterio.
So pumped.
I have to hold my hand up. My knowledge of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery comes pretty much exclusively from the Saturday Morning Kids TV show.
Yes, the great one with the Aerosmith theme.
Yes, and also the other movies. And Mysterio, to me, my experience of him was similar to Vulture. That's a lame-ass villain, and I was not really excited for that at all. But obviously, when the cast Jake Gyllenhaal, I said, it could be good. But you put your foot down from day one. You went, that will be excellent. And it was?
Yes, I think there are certain... The way the film kind of builds the relationship between Peter Parker and Mysterio, I think that leaves a little bit to be desired. I don't think they necessarily nailed the whole portrayal factor. But again, I thought it was interesting. I think it was you who mentioned it to me yesterday. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal is so dashing and attractive in this film. Spider-Man kind of gets, swept off his feet at looking at a guy who looks pretty much like the next Iron Man, and that kind of falls into the stuff there. I'm getting ahead of myself just ever so slightly. What I love with Mysterio in this film is they kind of do what they did so successfully with the Vulture. They modernize the character and they tie it into the unique lore that the MCU has, but at the same time retaining those classic kind of set pieces. So we had the Vulture flying around and messing with Spider-Man in Homecoming. Here, the illusion different set pieces they have almost look like something that have come out of the Spider-Man PS4 game or like the comics themselves. They are very high concept. They mess with your mind. There are genuinely moments where you're like, well, I can't tell if this is real or not right now. And I think they're one of the most impressive visual sequences I've ever seen in an MCU film ever. And that goes for the stuff we see in Doctor Strange, all the Inception stuff. This was so interesting to me, and it was like watching a comic come to life.
Now you say they sort of rushed the betrayal angle a bit. In the story, Spider-Man is put together with Mysterio to help fight these elementals that are wreaking havoc on the planet that have allegedly destroyed the planet from which Mysterio comes from, an alternate Earth with the whole multiverse situation. And yeah, they defeat the really awful Fire One together, and that's it. They're celebrating in a bar. Peter can't drink, of course, because he's too young, and they bond, and he gives him Edith. So a good bit of symbolism in that, which is the gift Tony Stark. Oh God, I can't even imagine what I'm like. I feel like asleep. It's the gift Tony Stark and the last thing he left him, which is basically all of Stark Industries tech, its defenses, its access to things in a pair of interactive glasses. You can hack phones, you can hack satellites. You basically have the entire Stark Industries arsenal at your disposal.
Call down drone strikes
accidentally in some cases when you're trying to get an innocuous photo deleted off somebody's phone. That actually happens in the film. But they're just the greatest gift Stark could have given him, and Spider-Man, thinking he's not ready for this, seeing Mysterio as the future protector of this planet, as the next Iron Man, which he doesn't believe he is, gives them to Mysterio, and that is when we get the reveal.
I'm not going to say I saw it coming, but we all saw it coming. But that doesn't make the moment any less cool, because it's like, you know, I know a load of people were like, oh, the multiverse. I still think the film leaves it open
enough
for that to happen. But I think there was only ever one scenario playing out when Mysterio got announced the film. And you know, the revelation that he was basically lying the entire time, that bit in the bar is handled so well because it really cuts through. And I think it's one of those things where the fact that it illustrates how effective he is at deception.
Yes.
Because he fools Nick Fury, or who we think is Nick Fury, and he fools Spider-Man, and I think that is really, it works the more I ruminate on it. I wasn't necessarily sold on it in the moment, but after that he turns into I don't necessarily think the role gives Jake Gyllenhaal much to do, but I think he's very good at being the villain.
His performance post the reveal reminded me. Have you seen Nightcrawler?
Yes.
Had so many shades of sort of like this sort of unhinged, slightly fraying at the edges Nightcrawler character who has to put on more of a pleasant public face at the same time being completely maniacal. And the notion that it's all Stark Industries tech, he is merely projecting all of these elementals, the danger is being caused, the damage is being caused by these drones that he controls. He's never even there in the first place. It's all just holographic technology. It's all based on Tony Stark's barf tech, which we all thought was going to be a big part of Endgame. I may have promised some people a commemorative cup off the back of that. Please stop tweeting me about it. I will get around to it eventually. I honestly will. But that did come back as we thought it would when we saw it in Civil War. And yeah, it's really well done. As you say, they modernized the character. He's not this like sorcerer or throwing smoke bombs on the ground to escape. He's using all this incredible technology that he got from working at Stark Industries, where he built up his begrudging hatred for Tony Stark for handing the glasses to a goddamn child. And he's using that to create an Avengers-level threat, which only he can save. He's pretty much going to wipe out London in the process, to then be the hero the planet deserves. And it was sort of implied he wanted to make
the conversation.
To make some kind of statement about the. It's a nuanced sort of.
It was a very interesting. I think it's especially salient in light of, we think of like disinformation.
Yeah.
Mysterio is the physical embodiment of disinformation and deception, but he's kind of coming at it from a weird angle where he's like, no one's listening to the experts anymore. Everyone's only listening to you if you're a cape and a superhero. And I think that was interesting in itself, because you kind of, to a degree, it's like, well, no one is really listening to experts anymore, but obviously you don't go and create fictional monsters that then blow up loads of people, because that's really bad. But again, like with the Vulture, he is making an interesting comment about how the modern landscape is, which I thought was very interesting. And I think the way the film brings back those classic kind of side characters from the old Iron Man films, it kind of made me laugh a little bit, because it's kind of like, oh yes, background guy who got yelled at for Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps, he's there.
But they literally did it. They went and pulled a load of extras from the old Iron Man films who have just been there at seminal moments in the history of Stark Industries, not necessarily with Tony himself, but I see the bit of Obadiah Stane where he's shouting at the engineer to build a better Iron Man suit because Tony built it in a goddamn cave. He's there. He's one of the crew that are working with Mysterio. Now, I'm not sure whether everybody they were referencing was actually in all of these scenes, because certainly Jake Gyllenhaal was digitally added into the back of one of them. But it's a really cool idea, and it does tie together so much of the previous MCU lore. Now, everything else we could talk about here would just be getting into just the plot specifics here and there. As we said, the set pieces are excellent. The character dynamics between Spider-Man and Mysterio, while a bit rushed, are genuinely genuine. You do feel the emotion of it. You do feel how much Peter wants to invest in him as a father figure almost. The relationship between him and MJ. There's more bits and pieces. There's nothing we could really spoil, nothing we could really add to our review of this by telling you about. He just travels over Europe trying to make amends for the mistake he's made by giving him the glasses, and that leads to the big set piece in London, which is, again, visually absolutely stunning, even when it stops being the giant, swirly, fire, lava, water, wind monster, which actually sounds like me on a Sunday morning, to be fair. And yeah, it just becomes this one-on-one fight between the two of them, and yeah, it's so nice to watch an MCU film where I wasn't having to go, right, all of this surely is implications for the wider universe, and I have to remember everything for the next 10 years. It was just, here are some characters you like in the MCU, and here is a thoroughly enjoyable film. Not overly important in the context of things. He was only going to wipe out London. Which, no offense to people who live in London, but the stakes for the previous film were he was going to wipe out half the universe. So, would I miss Croydon as much as I'd miss half the galaxy? I don't know. That's your opinion. You might have it. Overall thoughts?
Yeah, I think I really like this. I still prefer Homecoming as a complete package, I think. I think Homecoming is probably a 4-star movie to me, or a 4 to 5-star movie, whereas this, I think, is probably about 3.5 stars. A solid 3.5, yeah. I think it's good, and I think it's almost great, but there are certain little things here and there that they could have left to simmer just a little bit longer.
I think it's going to be interesting to find out what scenes didn't make it into this, because just as we've been doing this, I've remembered the bit in the trailer where he's joking with the police about doing their job for them. So we get a bit more of that friendly neighborhood thing going on. So I presume probably a few bits cut for a Marvel film. Yeah. Coming in under 4 hours is usually quite good these days. So there's obviously bits we've missed out. Who knows what we might get in deleted scenes in the future, which might just add a little bit sprinkling of context here and there, which I wouldn't be against. But overall, official What Culture review, 3.5 stars. Out of 5, by the way, because that was 10, that'd be terrible. Out of 20, Jesus, don't even think about leaving your house. But we can thoroughly recommend, if you like Spider-Man, if you like superhero films, hell, if you like joy, it's probably worth your time. Any closing thoughts?
Stay for the post-credits.
Oh, yes!
Don't leave, because they are the most important post-credits of all time. They are just, I think that's a ridiculous statement in itself. Who cares about post-credits? These things are literally,
you will after this.
They change the landscape of the MCU. Yeah. There is a thing that happens in the first one. I know it's a spoiler review, but can we really talk about it?
How about we just tell everyone to tune in to our post and mid-credits review that's going to be on What Culture later on today.
Like the MCU, we're building the interlinked narrative.
How about you do a little video just explaining what they are? Because we can't add it on here. People have been sat watching for
your time's valuable.
However many minutes. Yeah, so Ewan will be doing a full breakdown of the post and mid-credits after this. But they do change the landscape. They change the landscape of future Spider-Man films, and then the future landscape of the entire MCU. So watch out for that one. But in the meantime, though, this has been a review of Spoiler-Man Far From Home. Do let us know what you made of it in the comments below, either the film or the review, depending on which you've seen. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But in the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. This has been your friendly neighborhood Ewan, and I've been neither of those things, to be perfectly honest. Adam Cleary, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.